So guys, what is going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe, staying well at home. So guys, tomorrow, Friday, I'll give you my prediction of Loma v Lopez. But today I want to talk about Terence Crawford. I want to talk about the Kell Brook fight. I've been doing quite a few videos on it. I am excited about this fight. Excited in the sense I want to see Terence Crawford's performance against a big, strong welterweight. I want to see how Kell Brook does against a very slick boxer. I don't think we've ever seen Kell Brook against a slick boxer. We've seen him against guys that are top-level fighters that come forward and looking to pressure you and, like Golovkin, Spence and Porter. But we've never seen him against a guy that's going in there to dismantle you. He's looking to pick you apart like a surgeon. Kell Brook's always, I think Kell Brook fights better against fighters like Spence and Golovkin and Porter, just because they come at him and that gives him an opportunity to let off his shots. How he's going to do against a defensive fighter, a slickster like Crawford, is different. Crawford does give you opportunities to hit him. However, he's also a lot more defensively sound than those other three fighters. I feel like Spence gets hit. Spence is better technically than, in my opinion, his defense is a lot better than Golovkin's and Porter. But as we saw from the Brook fight, when he fought Brook did catch him quite a bit. Whereas I think Crawford's a lot more defensively sound than that. You can see that, he does get caught now and then he lacks in concentration, but that's probably down to his arrogance that he's so good that he knows that he can get away with it and come back. I mean, listen, if he comes up against Errol Spence, he may not be able to lose concentration. He'll have to be on it 100%. However, what I want to say is that if Terence Crawford doesn't get a knockout in this fight, right? If he doesn't get a knockout and stop Brook in emphatic fashion, because let's not forget Errol Spence stopped Brook, he's going to come under criticism. People are going to start saying he was exposed. People are going to say that, he's a hype job. All the critics are going to come out of the woodwork because they're going to say, well, look, Spence stopped Brook 3 years ago and Crawford wasn't able to stop him. Now, I don't really agree with that because that's why I'm doing this video, because if Crawford puts in a very good performance and outclasses Brook, I don't think he deserves criticism. But the way Crawford's measured as a fighter and the high standards that he has, for me, he's going to have to stop Brook. And that's not going to be easy because Brook is a tough, rugged guy. I don't know how tough and rugged he's going to be now, just because he's been out the ring for quite a while. He's also a guy past his best, in my opinion. And Zarafa gave him a tough fight. So Crawford's going to have to put in a great performance. When I mean great performance, he's going to have to stop him. I feel if he doesn't stop him, then there's going to be, comparisons drawn between him and Spence. And, people are going to start saying he was exposed, blah-de-blah. They're going to start talking nonsense like that. So I think Crawford's going to have to go in there and put in an emphatic performance. And if we don't get anything otherwise, I think people are going to start saying, well, Crawford's... Like they always do with Terence Crawford, when I feel for him, because... obviously, Terence Crawford's a world-class fighter. There's no doubt about it. Terence Crawford is, in my opinion, one of the best out there. His resume is weak, though. But I think he's going to have to put in an emphatic performance against Kell Brook if he wants, if he wants to get praised for this fight. Because I think, here's the thing, I think these type of fights for Terence Crawford are very risky in the sense that even if he wins and doesn't look great, he's going to get criticism. He has to win in emphatic fashion where he goes in there and completely dismantles Brook, knocks him out in 4 or 5 rounds. And when you're going up against someone like Kell Brook, Kell Brook's not a bum. Kell Brook's a good fighter. So it's going to be difficult to go in there and just dismantle someone like that. His performance against Khan was brilliant. It was brilliant. But Kell Brook's a lot stronger. He's a bigger welterweight, Amir Khan's a different fighter. He's the skills that he had have diminished, over the years. He wasn't in prime condition. He wasn't the prime Khan for that fight. However, even though I think Kell Brook's diminished as a fighter, I don't think Kell Brook was as diminished as Khan, because the thing is with Amir Khan, he relies on speed, reflexes, all of those things that, with age decrease. His hand speed was unbelievable. That's decreased. His legs are not the same. His legs movement was very quick in his heyday. That went. Kell Brook's more, if you look at his career, he's been a more powerful guy. A big guy at the weight. Strong, powerful. I don't think, even though he's diminished, he's not the same fighter. I don't think Kell Brook relies heavily on the things that Amir Khan relies. And I feel like the attributes and skills that Amir Khan had that made him world class have diminished, because with age those things diminish. And I think with Kell Brook, I don't think Kell Brook attributes as such, they do diminish with age, of course, but not as much as what Khan relied on. So that's why I think, even though Kell Brook's a diminished fighter, and I do expect, obviously, Crawford to win, I don't think this is going to be that easy for Terence Crawford. This is why I think Terence Crawford is stuck in between a rock and a hard place, because I think that it's not going to be that easy, and I think Kell Brook will give Terence Crawford tough moments. For me, even if Kell Brook pulls off an upset win, it wouldn't shock me, because I can see it. However, it's unlikely. It's unlikely. But if Kell Brook can land something big, we've seen Crawford been hurt many times before. But again, personally, I think this is a fight where Crawford, if I was to give a prediction on this fight, I would say Crawford stops him late. And I think anything but a stoppage for Terence Crawford in this fight by the boxing audience and fans is not going to be deemed acceptable, just because of the high standards Crawford has. And listen, for me, a win's a win. Whether he wins on points, whether he wins by knockout, a win's a win. But it's just the way that he'll be viewed, because Kell Brook isn't seen as a top guy anymore. Kell Brook isn't seen as a top welterweight. Irrespective of what his fans may say, Kell Brook isn't deemed as a top welterweight. He's not seen in the same category as Danny Garcia, Errol Spence, Sean Porter. He's not seen in that category. Even though he beat Sean Porter, Keith Thurman, he's not seen in that category anymore. That might be down to the fact that his inactivity, might be down to the fact that because of his poor competition he's had over the last couple of years. But since the Errol Spence fight, and that's 3 years ago, Kell Brook's competition has been very poor. This is going to be his first fight at world. He's not even been close to world level after the Errol Spence fight. He's been way below he's been way below world level. So, and now he's gone to elite level to fight Crawford. It's not even world class level. There's world class level. He wasn't even at world class level. He's now gone straight to elite level. So you can understand why Terence Crawford is so heavily favored in the fight, because because Brook hasn't even fought in the last 3 years at world class level. His last fight was in May of 2017 against Errol Spence, and that was over 3 years ago. And at the time, Errol Spence was a up-and-coming prospect. We didn't know how good Errol Spence was. And I'm pretty sure Errol Spence wasn't as confident as he is now. There was self-doubt in Errol Spence because he wasn't a champion. He was going to Kell Brook's backyard. I don't think that was 100% Errol Spence. And I'm not even sure if we've seen the 100% Errol Spence yet. But one thing I know about Crawford knows where he's at. Crawford knows how good he is. Crawford's in his prime right now. This is the best Terence Crawford we're probably going to get. And for me, Kell Brook, last top fight was against Errol Spence. And the last meaningful fight before that was Golovkin. And the last meaningful fight before that was Sean Porter. And that was in 2014, I believe, or 2013. That's almost 6 years ago. You could say that was his last meaningful win, Kell Brook's. Because the other guys that he's been fighting have been way below world level. And that's the problem with Kell Brook's career. That's the problem, that, there's not been enough elite level fights. There's not even elite world class level fights. There's not been enough. And this is why, to a certain extent, I've said it before, that you don't even know how good Kell Brook is, really. Because you saw him win a fight against Sean Porter, right? And it was kind of a fight where you didn't really get to see much. It was a very scrappy type of affair. I've always wanted to see Kell Brook against Danny Garcia, against Keith Thurman. And I think those fights would have told us how good Kell Brook really is. Is he not that great? Is he just world class, fringe world class? Is he above world class? We never really got to see, right? Because, in my opinion, that Golovkin fight really killed him. In a way, I think that Golovkin fight killed his potential, which is sad. You know, I think greed took over. And I feel for him because his career wasn't going anywhere. He won the world title. He wasn't getting big fights. He thought by winning the world title, that would lead him to big fights. He kept chasing Khan all the time, you know, throughout the years. It was all about Amir Khan, rather than saying, you know what, let me be as that possessive with a fight with Keith Thurman. You know, but I don't know what it was. It was just one of them where I felt like Kell Brook probably made a mistake staying with Eddie Hearn. And if he had left and gone to PBC, I think Kell Brook would have got those big fights. I'm not saying he would have won those fights, but he would have got those big fights at welterweight. And I think sticking around with Eddie Hearn, I just think because if he had gone with Al Haymon in PBC, I feel those big fights would have been there, because Al Haymon then would have seen Kell Brook as a welterweight world champion and he would have matched him with his guys. I just feel like Kell Brook didn't want to go and fight when he was champion in America. He wanted to fight in the UK. See, this is the thing that Eddie Hearn and Kell Brook don't really mention. They keep saying that we were willing to go over to the US, but you weren't though. You wanted the fights to happen in the UK. They wanted to increase. Here's the thing: Sky, Eddie Hearn wanted marquee fighters here in the UK to fight at a UK time. We already know they don't like the fight in 4 o'clock in the morning. They don't like that. We've just seen that. They're not taking the Crawford Brook fight. So they don't like the fight 4 o'clock in the morning. They want the fight to happen 9, 10 o'clock UK time, prime time here. And this is the problem that Kell Brook had. Nobody wanted, those guys were stars in their own right. Spence, Garcia. Spence came over and beat him, but that was because Spence wanted to win a world title really bad. Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman, they were already accomplished in the sense that they'd won world titles, and they weren't that desperate to come to the UK and fight Kell Brook. But Kell Brook wasn't that desperate, or the people behind. Kell Brook would have gone to US and fought those guys, no problem. But I don't think Eddie Hearn and Sky wanted Kell Brook to go and fight in US because it didn't make sense for their business. And that's why I think Kell Brook needed to take the jump. And he didn't take the jump. And that's why I think Kell Brook didn't get the big fight. If Kell Brook had left Eddie Hearn when he became world champion and gone with PBC Al Haymon, he would have got the big fights. He may even got the Khan fight. Not forget the Khan fight. He would have definitely got other fights that would have put him in position, right, if he was good enough, where Amir Khan might have been chasing Kell Brook. If Kell Brook had beaten Keith Thurman, become a unified champion, Amir Khan would have been calling for that fight for sure. Because Kell Brook's name then would have gone to the next level. But I just think that Kell Brook was very loyal to Sky and Eddie Hearn, and sometimes loyalty doesn't always pay back. And as we've seen with this fight, they're not even buying his fight with Crawford. So, you know, it kind of shows that, you know, Kell Brook should have taken the dive at that time and gone to PBC Al Haymon. I think that would have been the best move, and I think that would have been the best career move for him, because I believe the fights that he never got here, he would have got there. And Al Haymon at that time was paying fighters good money, so Kell Brook would have got compensated very well with Al Haymon. But it's just one of those things, you know. He thought that Eddie would get him those big fights, you know, but unfortunately they didn't come. And I think that was as a result of him being loyal and not taking the shit, because it was talk around that time that he may go to Al Haymon PBC, and that would have been the right move. But I just think Kell Brook stayed loyal to Eddie Hearn, but it didn't really work out for him. It worked out, he made good money, but I think he would have made more money. He would have had a better legacy. He would have got greater fights if he had jumped ship. But that's just my take on it. Leave your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, guys. And guys, remember to please like, share, subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video.